Welcome to the Attraction Archive. Tonight, we're diving into another group of attractions who prove that the word attraction meant many different things in Portland wrestling. Sometimes it meant a world-renowned international star. Sometimes it meant a future champion passing through town. Sometimes it meant a manager, valet, or personality who became part of a memorable storyline. And sometimes it meant the colorful characters who made wrestling cards unlike anything else in sports or entertainment. Let's begin with a name that wrestling fans around the world recognize instantly, Giant Baba. Today, Giant Baba is remembered as one of the most important figures in Japanese wrestling history, founder of All Japan Pro Wrestling, multi-time champion, a genuine legend. But what many Portland fans may not realize is that Baba made an appearance at the Portland Sports Arena. Now, if you're expecting stories about Baba wrestling a classic match in Portland, there's a twist. He never wrestled. On June 22nd, 1975, Giant Baba appeared at the Sports Arena and opened the show in an interview segment alongside Haru Sasaki. Fans were told that Baba was scouting talent for All Japan Wrestling. Think about that for a moment. Sitting in the audience that night, you may not have realized you were watching one of the most influential promoters in wrestling history looking over potential future stars. And when you look at the timing, it becomes even more interesting. For just 6 months later, Jimmy Snuka would begin working for All Japan. About a year later, Bob Ramus, better known to wrestling fans as Sergeant Slaughter, would also work there. Was Baba scouting them? Well, we can't say for certain, but the timing certainly makes you wonder. Sometimes the attraction isn't the match. Sometimes it's being in the room when wrestling history is quietly taking shape. Now, let's move from one Japanese legend to another. If Giant Baba was one of Japan's greatest promoters, Masa Saito was one of its toughest competitors. An outstanding amateur wrestler, Saito had already been working on the West Coast since 1968 before arriving in Portland. His Portland run in 1974 was brief, just 4 matches, but those matches were fascinating. 2 single matches against Jimmy Snuka, and honestly, if you're a wrestling historian, that's enough to make your ears perk up immediately. Snuka was one of the most explosive athletes in the ring. Saito was one of the toughest wrestlers on the planet. Those had to be incredible contests. Saito was also teamed with Haru Sasaki in a tag team during his Portland stay. His Northwest appearances were limited, but his career certainly wasn't. He won championships around the world. He captured tag team gold with Mr. Fuji in the WWF, and he even held the AWA World Heavyweight Championship during the promotion's final years. And among wrestlers himself, Saito's reputation was immense. According to Mike Rogers' Ring Around the Northwest interview series, Scott Norton spoke of Saito with tremendous respect. That's often one of the best indicators of greatness. Not just what fans thought, but what fellow wrestlers thought. Now, Masa Saito passed away in 2018, but he remains one of the most respected Japanese wrestlers ever to compete internationally. Now, let's jump forward to 1990 and a completely different kind of attraction. One built around personality, drama, and one of Portland wrestling's hottest feuds. Of course, we're talking Veronica Lane. If you've watched Portland wrestling in 1980, chances are you remember Scotty the Body. Long before becoming Raven, Scotty was one of the territory's most entertaining villains, and every great villain needs supporting characters. Enter Veronica. Known primarily as Scotty's valet, Veronica entered a storyline that quickly became one of the most memorable soap operas in Portland. Scotty dumped his original companion, Ginger, and replaced her with Veronica. Rumors circulated that Veronica was actually the real-life wife of Rex King. Things got messy, very messy. Veronica's first match came in a mixed tag alongside Scotty against Ginger and Steve Dahl. A week later, Veronica and Ginger met again. Then everything built towards a hair match on January 27th, 1990. Scotty sat suspended above the ring in a shark cage. Brass knuckles got involved. Veronica got hit with her own weapon, and Ginger scored the victory. And then cut Veronica's hair. It was classic wrestling chaos. Mike Rogers' notes include a wonderfully honest observation from announcer Don Cost, who reminded viewers, remember, they are not professional wrestlers. That may be one of the most unintentionally hilarious pieces of commentary in Portland wrestling history. After wrestling Veronica, whose real name is Robin McKendrick, she went on to earn a communications degree and became a television traffic and weather reporter. Not exactly the career path most wrestling fans would predict, but that's why these stories are fun. You never know where they'll lead. Of course, you can't tell Veronica's story without talking about Ginger. Ginger's feud with Veronica became one of the most memorable storylines of 1990 Portland wrestling television. After defeating Veronica in the hair match, Ginger disappeared from television for several months. Then she returned, this time to face the debuting tailor-made Medina. She teamed with Steve Dahl to defeat Medina and Ricky Santana, then later defeated Medina in singles competition. And then she disappeared from wrestling history. According to Mike's records, those are her final known wrestling appearances. And honestly, that's one of the fascinating things about wrestling history. Some people wrestle for 30 years. Others appear for only a brief moment, yet fans still remember them decades later. Now let's return to one of wrestling's most popular attraction categories, the Little Wrestlers. Last episode, we talked about Little Tokyo. This week, we meet up two more famous names. First up, the Haiti Kid. Born Raymond Kessler in New York City, the Haiti Kid became one of the most recognizable little wrestlers of his era. He debuted in 1971 and quickly found success in the WWF alongside names like Little Beaver, Skylar Lowe, Sonny Boy Hayes, and Joey Russell. Portland fans saw him repeatedly through the 1970s. He worked the Northwest in 73, 74, 75, 77, and 1978. And like many attractions we've discussed, he eventually found himself on wrestling's biggest stage. At WrestleMania 2, he appeared as Little Mr. T, standing in Mr. T's corner during a famous boxing match against Roddy Piper. Now, that's a WrestleMania moment most fans forget, but it's part of wrestling history all the same. And Haiti Kid's story contains one of the strangest twists we've ever discussed in this series. Reports circulated that he had died in 2001, only for him to be discovered alive in a Brooklyn homeless shelter 8 years later. That's not a wrestling storyline. That's real life, and one of the most unusual stories attached to any wrestler we've covered so far. And finally tonight, we close with another popular Northwest attraction, Coconut Willie. If you've never seen a photo of Coconut Willie, you'd remember him instantly once you did. Standing 4'7" and weighing 154 pounds, he was one of the larger little wrestlers of that era. He was powerfully built, had distinctive tattoos, and he looked completely different from everyone else on the card. Born Curtis Dubois and hailing from Hawaii, he wrestled under both the Coconut Willie and Coconut Kid names. His Portland history stretched across multiple appearances. In 1978, he teamed with Cowboy Lang to defeat Little Tokyo and Billy the Kid. In 1980, he worked a full month in the Northwest, which was unusually long for a little wrestler working one territory. Then, after a brief retirement break, he returned to Portland in 1988 and spent 4 months in the territory before heading to Canada. He retired in 1991 and returned home to Hawaii. And perhaps fittingly for a man whose career already feels larger than life, one final mystery remains. In 2017, Coconut Willie was reported missing in Hawaii. And that may be the most intriguing endings to any story we've told so far on the Attraction Archive. And that's going to close the book on another trip to the Attraction Archive. Tonight, we met a remarkable group of attractions. Giant Baba, the legendary promoter quietly scouting Portland talent. Masa Saito, one of Japan's toughest and most respected wrestlers. Veronica and Ginger, who turned a 1990 storyline into must-see television. Haiti Kid, whose career included WrestleMania and one of wrestling's strangest real-life stories. And Coconut Willie, a colorful attraction whose story still carries a mystery today. Different eras, different careers, different reasons fans bought a ticket, but every one of them helped make Portland wrestling a little more memorable. I'm your host, Frank Culbertson, and on behalf of Portland wrestling historian Mike Rogers, thanks for joining us for another chapter inside the Attraction Archive. This series is based on research found in the Encyclopedia of Portland Wrestlers by Mike Rogers, available now on Amazon. And don't forget, new episodes of the Attraction Archive drop every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and YouTube. So make sure to follow, subscribe, and join us next week as we continue exploring the special attractions, unforgettable personalities, and unique stories that help make Portland wrestling history. Thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll see you next time inside the Attraction Archive.